Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thank you very much for joining us today for this latest segment of eWEEK eSpeaks. It's a series of casual conversations with IT thought leaders and entrepreneurs throughout the IT business. Our guest today is Krishna Rajaraja. Krishna, former longtime employee and administrator and scientist, I guess, at VMware, is now has started a company called SupportLogic, based in Santa Clara, California, and just come out of stealth in the last few months. And congratulations and welcome, Krishna.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
Did I describe your background with VMware well enough? I don't know if I did or not, but anyway.
I think you covered the basics. You covered the basics. I can give you a little more color. As you pointed out, I'm a very early employee at VMware.
Mm-hmm.
I joined there in 2002 when the company was less than 80 people. I was their first hire in India, and I joined when their support team was really, really small, when their support team was around 5 people.
Wow, you've seen growth there a lot. I don't know how many employees they have now, but it's in the multiple figures from,
Yes.
from when you were there. What did you do at VMware there?
So I come from a programming background. So I was doing systems programming, operating system, device drivers, so on and so forth. VMware hired me for my skills in operating system because they needed somebody who was familiar with operating system to support VMware users who were running operating systems on top of VMware. So that's how I got into support. I had no formal training in support.
Wow.
I was a developer at heart and joined VMware and as a support engineer and really enjoyed it.
Good for you. You've moved to start your own company, SupportLogic, 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. What was the impetus behind that move, and what business problem or IT problem did you see that you needed to solve?
Yeah, one of the key insights I had at VMware was because I was a developer, I had a different viewpoints on support issues than traditional support engineers would have. I always was thinking, what can be changed in the product to make it easier for customers to use, to make it easier for customers to adopt a product? What kind of issues needs to be prioritized, so on and so forth. And I saw the disconnect between the support issues I was facing day in, day out, and the engineering issues that were getting prioritized within the organization. And I was wondering why there's such a huge gap. And then it occurred to me that when you're in support and you're reading support conversations day in, day out, and also you're reading online discussion forums where customers are talking about how they're using a product, those knowledge is there in your brain. It's somewhat captured in the ticketing system, but a lot of signal is lost because ticketing systems, they really don't understand what you're storing inside the ticketing system. So we rely on human beings to tag and classify tickets to really extract knowledge and bookkeep that information. So I saw, what if this ticketing systems can become content aware and context aware? How could that completely transform an organization and the tribal knowledge that usually resides with in people's brain? How that becomes, what if that becomes the central nervous system of the company? So that idea inspired me to start this company.
Okay, so is it too much of a reach to describe SupportLogic as kind of an extension of the developer's brain? In other words, is it kind of a storage place for institutional information on each ticket item? In other words, so that some of the finer points of these requests don't get lost in the translation. The system SupportLogic helps out with that. Is that it, or am I describing it right?
It's a little different than that. So let me explain the core concept behind it, right? Mm-hmm. So when we are working with customers customers are sending us a lot of signals to us.
Mhm.
Signals about frustration with your product, confusion with your product, usability issues, feature requests, documentation gap, so on and so forth. There's so much knowledge that is there in the real conversations that you're having. But these knowledge is all captured in the natural language portion of your conversation with your customers. And ticketing systems don't do anything about any of this natural language. So what we do is we use natural language processing AI to extract these signals, the latent signals that is there in the support conversations. And these signals have different use cases for different functions within an organization. For example, some signals are useful for support, some signals are useful for product, some signals are useful for customer success and accounting. So we created a collaboration platform on top of these ticketing systems. Now, since I come from VMware, the analogy that I would give is we're very, very similar to what virtualization layer has done for the underlying physical hardware. We are very similar. We treat the underlying ticketing systems as physical hardware. So for a given organization, you may have a systems of record for support, one for discussion forum, and you may have a different interface for chat, different interface for engineering tickets, and customer knowledge is fragmented in all these places. So we are an abstraction layer on top of these different classes of systems of record, and then we continuously extract signals using natural language processing, and then we predict things, we give very unique insights, so on and so forth. So that's the core architecture of what we do.
Okay. So can you just define for me signals, because you use that term several times. What is a signal in all of this?
Yeah, a signal could be a customer might say, your product is very confusing to use, and I'm going to switch to your competitor product. Now, in that statement, there are two signals. One, the customer is expressing that the product is confusing to use, which is a useful signal for product team. The other signal is that they're saying they're going to switch to your competitor's product, which is a useful signal for customer success team. The other signal that we do is based on the interactions that we constantly monitor every customer interaction, and we maintain context of these signals that we extract. So we can then predict what might happen for a given account. For example, we can predict that this account is likely to escalate an issue. So for many of our customers, we predict customer escalations weeks in advance, just analyzing the interactions they're having with your company.
Okay. So it is a collector of data and of, like you say, these customer signals in the system. So it is collecting data and then being able to extract useful information from that so that the project can move on or continue. Is that correct?
I would not say we're collectors of data. Data is already collected in your ticketing system. So,
okay.
What we are good at is extracting signals.
Okay, so you're not storing data or anything. You're working on it. That's the data that's already there, and then using your AI engine in this to help predict things. What kinds of things can you predict from signals?
One of the biggest things we predict is customer escalations. Now, for many organizations, customer escalations are super expensive because not only the support engineer's time is used, use the time of all the execs in the company. Sometimes even the CEO gets involved in the customer escalations. So people don't realize how expensive it is. So we can predict that in advance, in many cases, like a couple of weeks in advance, and give an early warning to the company that this account is going to escalate. And you may want to focus on these issues the customer is reporting. So that's one prediction. The other prediction we do is for every support issue that is coming in, we can match the support issue with the right domain expert within the company. That's also considered as a prediction / recommendation. So what this allows an organization to do is direct a customer issue to the right person within the company so that it gets resolved with minimal frustration on the customer side. and with maximum efficiency and faster case resolution time.
Okay, can you give me an example, Krishna, of a customer and a use case, just a high-level one, so that our viewers and our readers can get a real-life picture of how it works?
Yeah, there are many case studies on our website. I will quote you a couple of webinars we've done with some of our customers. One, some of our audience might be familiar with, which is a company called Nutanix. They are one of our very early customers. I think they've been using our product for close to 3 years right now. Even though we came out of stealth mode in August, they've been one of our early customers. What we've done for Nutanix is we've implemented our escalation prediction engine on their support cases, and we were able to predict customer escalations, but also reduce the customer escalations by up to 40% in their scenario, which I think is being a support engineer. If somebody told me 5 years ago that you can predict customer escalations, not only you can predict customer escalations, you can prevent even 5%, I would have said, you're kidding me. So we are incredibly proud of the results we have achieved with this customer. And we have seen similar results with multiple other customers. There's one other customer named Click who managed to reduce escalations using our product by 30% within 3 months. So we're seeing incredible adoption of the product, and the customer seeing incredible value with our product.
Okay, Krishna, we got about a minute left. So those are great examples. Thank you. Click is spelled Q-L-I-K, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I know that company. And as an editor, I'm always concerned about misspellings, but that's the name of their company. So can you explain, maybe you've been in business 4 years now. Can you explain a trend perhaps in this area that you could share with us? Maybe a request for a feature or that a client has had that you're working on or something like that?
Yeah, one of the trend which we are pretty bullish about is the industry is moving into this model called product-led growth. And the core idea of product-led growth is that you use your product to drive adoption. So you land customers first, and then you expand your footprint after you land the customer. This changes fundamentally how support is being perceived. In the past, support has been perceived as a break-fix organization. I mean, support comes after the sale was done. Now, in a product-led growth model, support often comes first before you close a sales deal, because you land the customer, and support isn't the path of product adoption. The most interesting example you can think of is if you go to AWS, first you would start with probably $50 a month AWS instance. And you might be a developer using the instance. You run into a support issue. You file a support ticket. If nobody responds and you don't get good support experience, that $50 contract ends at $50 contract. But if you have the great support experience, all your technical issue has been resolved, that $50 a month contract can turn into a $50,000 a contract. So support role has completely changed since the days I've done it at VMware. So that's the trend we are seeing. Increasingly, the companies are recognizing the value of support, and support is now seen as a part of the revenue and not a cost center anymore.
That's a great description of how SupportLogic works, because the support before the actual product or service is interesting. I think that's the way. I think you're probably in a really good lane going forward. I think you might be the only company I know that's doing this. So
yeah, that's part of the reason we were in stealth mode for quite some time. We have taken a very different approach on support issues. Traditionally, many companies looked at support as a cost center, so all the optimizations on the innovations where how do you reduce the number of cases coming in, what I call as case deflection issues. We fundamentally see support as a revenue center. So we are focusing on what signals can you extract from support conversations.
That's great stuff. It's all about the customer experience, no matter what the customer does or whatever. That's great stuff. So Krishna Rajaraja, CEO and founder of SupportLogic, thank you for joining us today on eSpeaks.
Thanks, Chris.
And for everybody following along to the end here, thank you very much and have a great rest of your eWEEK. Thanks for joining us on eWEEK eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.